Have you ever wondered what happens when a huge, expensive tech project just slams into a human wall? Well, we're going to dive into a really fascinating case study out of Colombia that has a pretty surprising answer.
Okay, let's start with this number, $86 million. That's how much Colombia's national training service bet on its digital future. But here's the thing. As we're about to see, the tech was never the real problem. The people were.
So the goal here was massive. They wanted to completely overhaul the tech for a huge national institution, to drag it into the digital age.
And the organization we're talking about is SENA, which is Colombia's national training service. Just picture a giant public education network with centers all over the country, and a lot of them were in pretty remote spots with basically zero digital tools.
And the rollout itself, it was impressive. We're talking more than 12,000 new computers, a single unified network, Wi-Fi in 174 different training centers. They even had mobile digital classrooms and top-of-the-line video conferencing. On paper, this was a huge leap forward.
But, and this is the big but, here comes the twist. You can have all the shiniest, fanciest gear in the world, right? But if people are actually afraid to use it, what you really have is a very expensive problem. And that's exactly where this project hit, the human bottleneck.
So, this really gets to the heart of the problem. On one side, you've got these senior instructors. Now, these folks are absolute experts in their fields, but they're digital immigrants. They felt really uncertain, kind of hesitant. And then on the other side, you have their students, digital natives, who just picked it all up instantly. This created this huge, gaping chasm right in the middle of the classroom.
And this simple phrase says it all. I'm bad with technology. It wasn't just that the instructors didn't know how to use the tools. It was a genuine fear, technophobia. They'd get anxious about whether a document actually saved, or they'd just give up and ask someone else to do it for them.
So look, the key thing to understand here is that this wasn't just some simple skills gap you could train away. It was a cultural bottleneck. That entire $86 million investment, it was totally at risk. Why? Because the very people who were supposed to be using all this new tech were basically paralyzed by the fear of breaking something or, just looking silly.
Okay, and this is where the strategy gets really smart. Instead of just throwing more dense technical manuals at everyone, they completely pivoted. The new game plan was all about building confidence and creating what's called psychological safety.
So their whole human-centered strategy really boiled down to 4 key things. First, they made super simple visual tutorials. Second, they launched these supportive campaigns that basically said, hey, this tech is here to help, not to hurt. Third, they provided guided learning, but in small, easy-to-digest, bite-sized chunks. And finally, and this is probably the most important part, they made sure it was a safe space where it was totally okay to mess up and learn from your mistakes.
So yeah, forget about those giant 100-page PDF manuals that, let's be honest, nobody ever reads. The solution was incredibly simple but so effective. Short, screen capture videos. That's it. They just showed step-by-step how to use everyday tools like Gmail or Calendar. A lot of times they just had some background music. No tech speak, no jargon, just a clear, simple visual of what to do.
And you know what? The results of this shift were, they were transformative. By focusing on the people, they finally started to close that digital divide between the teachers and their students.
The outcomes were just so clear. All that anxiety around technology, it just plummeted. And at the same time, the instructors' confidence absolutely soared. They reached a point they called meaningful digital autonomy, which is a fancy way of saying they weren't just following a checklist anymore. They were actually using the tools proactively and creatively. And online collaboration, it just became the new normal.
The impact here was just profound. With this newfound confidence, the instructors could finally work with their students on a level playing field. Technology stopped being a wall between them and actually became a bridge connecting the generations.
So what's the big lesson in all of this? It really boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful idea: the people-first principle.
At the end of the day, the real lesson is this. A truly successful transformation isn't really about the hardware or the software. It's always about building a strategy that's centered on the actual human beings who have to use it.
And the secret sauce here wasn't complicated at all. It was just clarity, what they called accompaniment, which just means walking alongside people while they learn. And maybe most importantly, making people feel capable and empowered.
So this whole story leaves us with a really important question to think about.
I mean, pretty much every organization out there is pouring money into new tech. But what this case really makes you ask is, where are the human bottlenecks in your world? And how could a simple, people-first approach unlock the true power of the technology you've already paid for?